Hey everyone, it's Makito here, and today I'll be reviewing again for the Massachusetts Go Association, or Massachusetts Go Foundation League. First we'll start with H League, and I'll start with Nmego and Zcmbie. So let's talk about this game. This was played... Actually, I don't know when it was played. It might have been played Tuesday. We play every Tuesday, and we get their reviews on Monday, so let's begin. Tengen, very cool. I don't really see many people play this at all. I don't know many of the openings surrounding the Tengen, but usually people don't play it. It's like, if you look at the Josekipedia over here, it's not even a numbered move that most people play, and when you play it, you know, the opening just says it goes like this, and it's over. Pretty much. There should be one more move, yep. And then this is the end of the opening, so anything goes from here on out. So let's see how this goes. Okay. Okay. Taking two corners and close this corner. It's looking good. This was a bit strange. So nowadays you see the 3-3 invasion quite often come into play immediately, but if you can see here at C4, by the way, sorry if you hear like construction in the background. Maintenance is here redoing my bathroom, and I live, you know, my room's right next to the bathroom, so sorry if you hear a lot of interference. But anyway, normally when you have a 3-4 stone, I think this is the first thing I wrote here, it focuses, your first focus should be either to enclose it, or if your opponent misses that enclosure, you know, after all this is done, then white wants to come back and stop the enclosure from happening, because this enclosure here is really good for the corner. And if not, and white is somehow able to take your corner, then you'll still get really nice influence on the outside, and white gets a very small corner. So usually opening theory dictates that if you have a 3-4 stone, your focus should be to enclose it in some manner, either like this, 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 or this. These 4 spots are the most common. Okay, so this went down. This move is an older Joseki. I'm not going to tell you it's bad, but a lot of players who have at least studied this know how to manipulate this Joseki. So before 2016, before the computers, this was like the only move, right? And so we see it all the time. Usually go like this, and white gets a solid wall, and black gets sente. So it was considered, you know, it was actually considered good for white, but with sente I'd say black gets an even result. But now nowadays black pushes once more here, and white usually has to play here, and this is something that I wanted to talk about too. Let me just change the camera a little bit here. There we go. So this weakness here allows for black to poke here, and it's in white's best interest to play here. And usually black can come in down here, and black's gonna be mostly a-okay. He's not gonna have trouble either settling or coming out, and then white just has this stick that's really annoying to handle. White's not gonna die, but black can comfortably, as long as he plays very lightly, he's not going to have a problem like settling. And so the whole reason to make this wall was to make some points over here, right? So that's why this weakness is very annoying. This 2 stones and then this cutting point here. Plus, black now gets this really great shape here if black played here in the game, because this is hitting the head of 3 stones. This is a shape point that you need to understand is very, very, very valuable. It makes the difference between white getting a seal, right, sealing black off, versus black being unsealed, and now he has all this potential over here, and his group has no way of dying. Not that it would normally, but the idea is that shape points are important, and learning that getting hit on the head of 3 stones is really bad for white is very crucial to learning Go. And vice versa, learning that hitting the head of 3 stones for black, like this is super good for black. White feels entrapped in my case. Like if it went like this, you know, normally you can see black is getting more than white over here, and there's more, you know, black at sente. So let's follow order here. But anyway, if we go back to this move, normally the new modern Joseki is to play out like this. I'll just show you the most simplest one. This is where it ends, and then white can decide to play over here or play somewhere else. This would probably be a good idea. You don't want to keep pushing because it's that same thing where, you know, if you give up somewhere, then black gets that nice shape point and is out. So usually white doesn't react here anymore and then plays somewhere else. If black plays like this, I mean, this just solidifies white's wall. Black gets out still, but white now, you know, has this nice wall. So anyway, we'll go back. So this is an older Joseki. You can still play it if you want, but I just want you to be aware of this weakness here. In the fact that when black pushes for a 3rd time here, white really should play here, which then defeats the purpose of making this wall, because black can just settle here very easy, and black gets a big corner and has potential of breaking this up. And if it's not played correctly and white plays this, then black can take apart this weakness, and then black can break up this area very easily, and then this becomes almost a liability. So anyway, we'll move on. So B is a big move. B is a very big move. Obviously expanding this fence post. I still think B should consider somewhere over here, but I can see that this is working with Tengen, so because black has Tengen, there's like a big difference here. So I could see why B is a big move, but A is locally the best point, and I almost feel it's not urgent, but it feels like it because it puts black in such a good position. White can't stop black from winning this running battle. This would be called a running battle because each player is trying to get in front of each other, and black is just in an awesome position. Now let's say if black played here or here, you could see that, you know, all these stones are working together, taking half the board. And although white has almost half the board, because of this black corner, black has that point advantage. So if you're wondering why I don't Atari here, is because of it's because black is very solid here and it has no weaknesses now. You could call this Aji, but it really, you know, it can get stomped out. It can get destroyed. So anyway, we'll just move on back to the real game. We talked about hitting the head of 3 stones here and how it keeps you ahead of the race and it hurts white shape significantly. So we'll move on. White came over here. This all looked fine. This move looked a little strange to me. It's really far and can be disconnected from this group, meaning that they can be weaker, but it's not terrible. What I was looking at was, I think black, it looks a little strange, but I think black might want to focus either here or here to keep these separate, or to keep this baseless. This doesn't have a base, although it would be easy now for white to try and connect up to his stone or make territory here. So instead of this move, maybe it would be even this one right now. So we'll move on. Like I said, this move I think would have been much better, but this is fine. The only problem is now, if white was to push here, white can either threaten to separate these two, or if black continues to try and stay connected, as you can see, black is crawling. So it would go something like this. And you can see the difference between white being here and the difference between black being here, right? Like, this is much more beneficial for black. So, you know, it's not a big mistake, but once again, I really think you should try and remember the shape called hitting the head of 3 stones. So we'll move on. Let's see. Slow moves. Move 37. Okay. Yeah. So let's take a look here. So white played the 3-3. And then once again, black played the older Joseki. In this case, it might be fine because you already have a stone here. In the other case, this stone wasn't here yet, and this Joseki was played, and so that's why it's a move behind, and it creates that weakness that I was talking about over here. Whereas this stone is already here, so I think this is okay. I might still play this out of habit now, learning all the new Joseki, but either way, it's fine. Although this move right here felt kind of slow. The reason is because now white can take hit the head of 3 stones. So white is leading this running battle. You two are having a running battle, like moving this way, and now white can take that lead. So I think black should have played maybe one more, or even here possibly. Or maybe even here to threaten white without having to lose Sente. So when you play this way, white now has a diagonal shape. And diagonal shapes are really good when it comes to making eyes. So I really don't like pushing in on white here, but it's fine. The only problem that really arose was this move at A. So slow moves. It's a very slow move. So you see how this is on the second line to the wall? That means that these moves are nowhere near as valuable as like something out here. Something, you know, here, or even like something like this, or here, or here, or here. Because these moves only are worth a very few amount of points, usually when you're playing on this line. The only time you really want to play on these lines is when you're in the end game, because that's when you're finishing all your walls and stuff. Even back here, like I said, I really don't like this move because the focus should be more out here where the points are. But anyway, so A is a very slow move. If you could stop yourself from playing on the first and second lines unless you have to, you'll find that you can get more points elsewhere. And for example, if black was to play, let's say here, and white really focused on this stone, right? Black can now play here, and black has a couple of choices. Black could either really choke these white stones, or keep them separate and still, you know, here, or just take away the base from white as well. And you know, this is very small. This isn't worth much. So if white harped over here and like took the stone and then still kept playing moves like this, I mean, it could even end here, and then, you know, the battle will continue. But the idea is that giving up this stone wasn't a big deal. It shouldn't be your priority. And you get Sente like after he takes it, right? Now you can play somewhere else, kick, or you can defend yourself. And if white plays here, then it's definitely Sente, because now you get another move on the outside. So if you don't play slow moves and keep Sente, you'll get big advantages on the more important sides of the board. But if you play slow moves like this to defend only second line territory and one stone, then you're gonna fall behind in territory. The more white gets Sente, the more black will fall behind. So I really can't stress slow moves enough. And the way to find slow moves are, one, if they're worth only a few points, like you can just give up this one stone and it's only worth a few points. And two, if it's on the first and second line. First and second line moves usually are way too slow and only handled when there's life and death involved, or if it's close to the end of the game. Not the beginning part. Okay, that's a really important concept, so that's why I'm harping on it so much. But we'll move on. So let's see. This was like a local mistake because it gets cut off too easy and causes a lot of problems on this side, right? Like this is a big problem for black. So I think you should have poked here because it breaks a lot of shape. And then I'm not sure how white should handle. Maybe connect, and then black can continue to keep this white group away from this area. So this is a very small accident. Like I wouldn't even, I guess you could say stay connected, right? That's a good fundamental to always be. Don't play moves that get disconnected too easy. But this is what happened in the game, and white made a major mistake here. So white needs to stay connected. Actually, did I miss this one? Let's see. No, I didn't. But white still needs to stay connected. This move would have been much more appropriate. You can see that white keeps the connection with these stones, breaking up this area, and white can still have plenty of time to run out. Because if black focuses on this, then black just dies in the corner and white gets a nice corner. So you need to stay connected. This was great. And then this is where the issues began. This is where there was a major swing in this part of the board. So this is an iron pillar. An iron pillar is two stones that are connected, just like this. And these two are the diagonal connection. They're connected diagonally. An iron pillar versus a diagonal usually is bad for the diagonal. And this is something that you'll see all the time. You see it in Tetsuji books, shape books, everywhere. So once I saw this diagonal, I knew immediately black had to fix himself, right? Even playing an empty triangle sets up hitting the head of three stones. So even this would be okay. And I think the computer said this might have been the best move, which is pretty cool. But anyway, I know that you were worried about this. And this does affect a lot. It either becomes a ko, which is an all or nothing, right? If black wins this ko, black's gonna win. These stones are probably gonna die. These stones are really hurt, and everything's good over here. So this is a all or nothing ko. Or you could just make the farmer's hat, and even though you lose this one stone, this is how it goes. Yeah, you get Sente. So now you can get another move on the outside. One is bad. I just put that there as an example. But the idea is that this shape is in danger, just 100%, because you have an iron pillar versus the diagonal, and white can easily jump ahead and just kill these stones. So you couldn't focus on connecting here or making the shape because this is urgent. So this was really, really urgent. Whereas this move, let's say, isn't urgent because one, you can either take a ko, or two, you can keep it separate. And even though white gets to live in the corner, black gets the outside here, and you can start really harassing these 3 stones and taking, you know, all this area. But anyway, so that's what happened in the game. And then white found this move. This is the move that you want to look for when you have an iron pillar versus a diagonal, because you get in front of your opponent and then it sets up this Tetsuji. So now white has successfully invaded here, and white has successfully invaded here, and white is really, really solid on the top. There's still this weakness here, but without knowing it, then white is really solid on the top. So now black is very far behind in points. So I think you mentioned in the Discord that you were wondering like where you messed up, and that made the game so difficult. So it was mainly in this area, in playing a slow move here, and not playing the shape point here or attacking this weakness. These are the areas where, you know, black faltered, and then white was able to swing the game in his favor for the rest of the game. There's just a few more little tidbits I can show you. I went through this quickly. I mean, I didn't review this quickly, but I'm going to go through this quickly because everything looked, you know, I didn't see any major mistakes or anything. I could see what this is doing. So with white on the 4th line, the 4th line is known as the power line. This is the line where it's mainly used for influence more than points. The 3rd line, which you can see here, 1, 2, 3, is used for points. So because white is on the 4th line, black can undercut. So instead of playing something like this, you know, black might want to try and undercut white here, in order to try and make a living. And this would hurt the corner, but black will definitely live. I mean, yeah, black will definitely live here. So when your opponent's on the 4th line, you can try and get used to playing under the stones in order to make life. You know, I'm not saying this is the very best move. Some might even argue it's not that good of a move, but I'm pretty sure this black stone will be able to make a living group. So I wouldn't worry too much. And this is the area that you wanted to break up. So counting these lines and knowing the differences between them is really important. You know, they call the first line the ground because it's on the floor. The second line being the loser line. That's what it's nicknamed anyway, because if you find yourself playing on the loser line, then you'll fall behind and you'll lose the game. The 3rd is known as the territory line, and the 4th is known as the power line, which is power meaning influence. It's focused more on influence than it is on territory. So anyway, there was one thing that I saw about an Atari. This one. So this one set up bad shape. If you don't know, this is called the empty triangle. You had 3 liberties, right? But then when you played it, then you only had 2 liberties. So by playing empty triangles, you usually short yourself a liberty. And this Atari wasn't worth anything. All it did was make you lose liberties and make white stronger. White stronger against these stones and white stronger against these stones. So you don't want to play Ataris unless they benefit you. And this particular Atari was really bad shape for black. So this is a good place to point out when you should Atari and when you shouldn't. So I wrote down, from what I see, the reason black lost was because white had too much on the top and was never invaded. Remember, I was talking about the invasion. And white performed 2 successful invasions on the bottom here. So what you can work on, Zcmbie, is either in the opening, focus more on breaking up territory so that you don't have to worry about white getting too much right away. Or you can look or just to practice invasions in general. And so that way you can learn to break up white. That's mainly it. Let me just see if there's anything else that I want to talk about. We can reiterate all the points really fast, and then we can end the review here. So opening theory dictates that usually you want to enclose a 3-4 point by either one of these methods. So this kind of breaks like opening theory. Although with the computer, you know, there's always something new. The difference is I think if you didn't play Tengen, then like this would be a little more normal. But now that you've already played Tengen, it's like you're kind of behind one move, and now white's leading the, you know, the opening. But anyway, that's just my opinion, I guess. This is an older Joseki, so a more modern one would be to play this way, and you can study that on your own if you want, or you use the Joseki button up here to study it. Oh, sorry, it's going into my variation. So with this older Joseki, the reason it doesn't work as well is because one, either black gets out here, or two, black gets to reduce here. So, and usually white will play here, and then black gets sente. So that's how this old Joseki is kind of like broken nowadays. But anyway, we'll move on. This is a very good shape point to always look out for, hitting the head of 3 stones. It usually leads to great results for black, who's doing the hitting, and bad results for white, who's getting hit on the head. So this move was a big move, but I feel locally this would be much more appropriate. So let's see. I don't have complaints about this. I did have a complaint about this for multiple reasons. One, it should be here, and two, originally I thought you should take away the base because this is unsettled, but I'm thinking now that maybe just keeping it separate is more important. Because this is a good focus right now. You have all these black stones and very little white stones here, so you should continue to try and keep white unsettled, so that white can't make a base easily and live, right? So this was just wrong position and wrong timing, I think. Either direction was fine. The way I can tell this is by counting lines. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So no matter which way, you were getting 5 lines of territory worth. So I don't think that this was a problem. Move on. These races, you got to get used to continuing to stay ahead. You either want to think about, can I play here? You know, or if you can't play there and you're uncomfortable with this fight, then can I play here? Well, not that you can. You don't have to ask, can you play here? It's more like you should play here, because you're staying ahead. And if white plays somewhere else, let's say white like played over here, now you can seal off white, and white has some more troubles. Sealing your opponent is obviously a good thing and go. This move, way too slow. Really try and take away, even this move I really don't like because it should be over here, right? But you really want to try and take away playing on the first and second line, unless it's truly gonna kill somebody. If it's leading to life and death, then it's a good idea. And then when it got to this point, you really should just let it go and move on to something much bigger. You know, any of these moves really, because this is too slow, and now white gets sente. Like if I was white right now, I'd play this, and then I would take my sente and play somewhere else. Where exactly, you know, I don't know. There's a great spots, but I think, you know, like taking away or playing here, or like he did in the game, taking the corner is nice. So there's that. Yeah, white didn't even respond here because it was slow. I think I would have in my game personally. Maybe that's too slow. But A is very slow. I think I'd play here because if you played A, then you must care about this stone. So then I'd get both. I'd get this and this, right? But anyway, we'll move on. This was a mistake. If you can get disconnected, it's not good. So this was a super mistake. This was like a big negative, which led to this cut. But then black needed to handle this shape. This is bad shape for black, so black needed to save himself and either risk the ko or keep the fight out here and just let the corner live. Because the corner is not, it's big, but it's not that big compared to like the outside here. So anyway, we'll move on. Definitely need to find a time to invade here because this is going to lead white to victory. Black doesn't have nearly enough points as white, and you can tell by the 2 invasions that were successful for white, whereas white has none. Nothing's been invaded. And the last thing was this bad shape Atari. It was bad shape and it was a useless Atari. Now, admittedly, later in the game, this turned out good for black because black ended up getting all this, you know, killed here. But that's just because white didn't connect. White didn't, you know, make sure that he kept that these stones were cut off from these stones. And because of that, black got a turnaround in this area. So, alright, I'll end it here. From what I saw, white was able to win by a lot of points, and that's because of all the successful invasions and black not being able to successfully invade. So I'll end it here. I hope this helped, and I'll see you guys in the next review. Take it easy.